I want to talk about the timeline.
Okay.
It's hard to know when exactly this is going to be resolved because they have the PA has 60 days to file the grievance,
Right.
which starting today from the time that they're going to terminate the contract, we assume that's happening right now or already done. The paperwork's being filed, whatever it is. 60 days basically from today to file the grievance. And then from there, there's way more. there's other time.
But again, they have 60 days to file the grievance.
But they could do it now.
They can file the grievance the next day if they want to.
Yes. And then there's, once the grievance is filed, settlement time, and the arbitration is usually scheduled for a month after all that.
Right.
How does this work, Charlie?
Well, in theory, this could take a really, really long time if everyone takes the maximum amount of time to do everything they have to do to get this to an arbitrator. If this goes all the way to arbitration and everybody maxes out their time frames, this could be being dealt with next summer still. It's possible. That said, I did look at the Mike Richards situation and the Corey Perry situation. In both cases, and both of these were settled. Again, they didn't actually go to the arbitrator. In both cases, the situations were settled a little over 100 days after the contract termination. That would put this around early December in terms of this finally getting settled, if it follows the pattern of those two situations.
As of whenever the termination actually happens, as of that moment, the Flyers have $4 million off their cap.
Right. So they
are cap compliant.
Yeah.
They have cap space.
Yes. Functionally, I looked at this based on my assumption of what the most likely roster is going to be. They are functionally, after they ditch the $4 million of Johansen, they're functionally about $3.1 million below the cap ceiling, and that is even with Ryan Ellis fully on their books.
So if this plays out to early December, they are going to, have cap space, but be in cap limbo for the first 2-3 months of the season.
Right, because my understanding is the Flyers, while they will be cap compliant in theory, because the contract, according to the NHL at least, doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
The NHL will have accepted the contract termination. Boom, done. There is still the theoretical possibility that at the end of this, the Flyers will lose. And if the Flyers lose, then suddenly that $4 million gets popped back on their books, and then they probably have to do what they originally didn't want to do, which is tap in a long-term injured reserve. The thing is that the injured reserve part does give them some flexibility, which is why I don't think it's going to prevent them from calling players up while this is going on and whatnot. Because if worse came to worse, and in February they find out that, sorry, you lost the grievance and you have to pay the $4 million cap on your books all year, the Flyers just say, okay, well, in retrospect then on, October whatever, we put Ryan Johansen on long-term injured reserve and we use that to go over the cap. We use that allowance. They could do that. But because that only gives you a certain amount of allowance, it's not like the Flyers, because they have this $3.1 million worth of cap space. We talked about it. Kelly mentioned it on the show. Well, does this mean that now this is a prelude to them doing an offer sheet or doing something fun? No.
There's a lot of unsigned RFAs still, Charlie.
No, that is not what's going to happen, because the Flyers are still in something of cap limbo, because they don't know exactly how much cap space they will ultimately have after this finally gets resolved. I do not think they are then going to go out and, that $3.1 million, it's just burning a hole in my pocket. I got to go out and spend it immediately.
That's what I would do.
I know that's what you would do, Bill. That's why you're you.
That's why I need TrueMark Financial.
That's why you need TrueMark Financial. Exactly. But I think the Flyers are going to mostly hang tight. I think they will, I'm not saying they're going to do nothing. As I said, they're still going to be able to call up players. Maybe if they want to sign somebody to an entry-level contract or whatever, they'll still be able to do that. They'll still have the flexibility. But don't think that this gives them the freedom to they got all this money, now they can go out and trade for somebody, or they can do this big thing. Big moves, first off, don't usually happen at this point of the year anyway. I know fans wish they did. I know you wish they did. They don't.
I mean, St. Louis just made a couple pretty big moves.
Just saying. They don't usually happen in mid to late August.
Typically,
they don't usually happen in September or October or November, when this is probably going to be playing out. So the Flyers probably have the ability to just kind of hang tight for a bit. and not make any big trades or any big signings and wait to see how this plays out, wait to see how much cap space they ultimately end up with, or if they ultimately end up losing this grievance and end up having to go in LTIR. They're probably going to be in limbo for a little bit, which, while it won't prevent them from doing anything, it will maybe prevent them from doing anything big for the next few months.
Now, the looming disaster, maybe, the overarching thing here that has been a theme in a lot of the Flyers controversies over the last year, 16 months.
Okay.
Kurt, not Kevin, Kurt Overhart.
Kurt Overhart.
This is a little concerning. Like I said yesterday, yeah, the Eagles still do business with Drew Rosenhaus. The Phillies still do business with Scott Boras.
Is Drew Rosenhaus still an agent?
I think his kid is.
Okay, I was wondering, because you don't ever hear about him anymore. We still hear about Scott Boras all the time.
Yeah.
I never hear about Drew Rosenhaus. I kind of was thinking about that.
At least
whatever happened to that guy?
In the aftermath of
They still worked with
they
him.
still did business. I don't know if they still. I think there's like a Rosenhaus agency, but I don't know
if he's directly doing the agenting.
The guy,
agenting.
I feel like I heard his son. Anyway,
Maybe. That's just something that pops in my head after the show. Like, whatever happened to Drew Rosenhaus?
Yeah, he just decided like, I'm old now. I don't need to be an asshole on TV
super
all
rich.
the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a billionaire.
Exactly.
Like
Fair. If only all rich people just got rich and then went away. That would be fantastic.
Dope. He has a lot of clients. KO Sports has a lot of clients. Joel Farabee is one of his clients. This isn't. It'll get.
It's to be clear.
resolved.
He's not. Joel Farabee is not.
He's a
one,
KO,
he's
not
not one
an
of Kurt Overhart's
Okay.
clients. His agent's name is Sean Hunwick.
Okay.
But Sean Hunwick
Works for KO
works
Sports.
in KO Sports.
Okay.
Yes, he basically Kurt is his boss.
Yes. You're going to have to deal with KO Sports and probably Kurt Overhart.
Right.
Oh, it's his initials.
You get it now?
Yeah. I just thought it was like, I don't know, it's just KO is a sports term.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's like a dual thing.
yeah.
It's his initials and it has sports
I get it.
overtones.
I
There you
get
go.
it. Anyway, you're going to have to be dealing with this agency and this agent.
Probably, yeah.
You put in your article, KO.
Or if you choose not to, you are putting yourself at a deliberate disadvantage of the other 31 teams in the NHL who are working with them and whoever they represent.
Like we often say about, like, the thing isn't that the best candidate might not be a former Flyer. It's that, like, you've intentionally shrunk your pool.
Right. Maybe
The best possible GM is Danny Briere, but your pool only includes Danny Briere and a bunch of dudes who were his teammates. You know,
that was always our big concern about their hiring process.
Yeah, like it might not be. Yeah, he's a better candidate than Mike Richards because, like, you know, he got bought out for drug possession.
Yeah,
you know, like maybe
maybe Mike Richards would make a great GM. Who knows?
Maybe he would.
Could be.
In your article, you put KO Sports is the 7th largest agency by NHL cap hits at the moment. Yeah. They got a whole lot of freaking clients.
It's not an insignificant. It's not the biggest. It's not like they burn a bridge with Pat Brisson, but it's not insignificant.
No, that'll be when they try to do this to Sean Couturier next year. It'll be great. No, like this is. We can debate how much. It's a concern, though.
Yeah, well, and the concern popped up. It manifested itself for the first time. And again, this is all just rumors. But I can tell you that this is a hockey world rumor. It's basically hockey gossip. Is that part the reason why the Flyers did not take Zeev Buium is because Kurt Overhart is his agent. That if Zeev Buium was represented by Pat Brisson, it is more likely that the Flyers would not have Jet Lushenko on their team right now. They were in their organization. They would have Zeev Buium. I do not know if that is true. I can say that there are people that
Happy birthday, Jet
there
Lushenko.
are people that I believe have good sources who think that there is truth to it. And I don't know if that's true, but I know that it is being talked about in hockey circles that played into it. And given the fact that Zeev Buium, generally speaking, and I'm not saying every team believed this. Maybe the Flyers were one of the teams that didn't believe this. Generally speaking, the industry consensus was that Zeev Buium was a better prospect than Jet Lushenko. In the public sphere and also the private sphere in terms of teams, that was the general consensus. If an aversion to dealing with Kurt Overhart led the Flyers to purposely take a worse prospect at number 12, and I'm not saying that's what happened, I'm just saying that is industry gossip that it played into it, that is not good for a rebuilding team.
No.
It's not. Because it gives you a less chance of getting the kind of star level talent that you need.
It does. And it's somewhat of a concern. Obviously, each case, it's going to be a case-by-case basis. The next move they make, the next big move they make might be to acquire one of this guy's clients, and then we're like, oh, everything's cool.
I guess everything's okay.
You know, maybe their big first free agent signing when they finally get back into free agency is one of his guys, and then we go, oh, all right, we're good. Maybe not, though. It's something to keep an eye on.
If I had to guess, do I think Kurt Overhart at the moment is very ticked off at the Flyers? Yeah, I sure fucking do.
I bet.
I'm sure he's livid at them right now. I do not doubt that whatsoever. I also think that Kurt Overhart most likely is not going to purposely screw himself out of money by blacklisting the Flyers from his clients. I do not think Overhart would do that. And I definitely do not think Overhart would screw over his underlings and tell Sean Hunwick, when Joel Farabee's contract's up, do not let him re-sign with the Flyers, because these guys want to make money. And I do not think that Overhart would purposely screw over his underlings or himself and make it harder for him and his people to make money. So I'm not so much concerned about that. I am a bit concerned that the Flyers may decide we never want to deal with this guy again because we can't trust him. And I guess I would see where they were coming from, but also you're making your team building job harder by blacklisting a non-insignificant part of the league. I am far
more concerned about the Flyers' potential for spite than KO Sports and Kurt Overhart.
Right.
That is... I think that is the bigger concern. So we're just not going to take these guys. Yeah. You know,
we're just going to avoid them at all costs, if at all possible.
That's a bad idea.
And that would be a bad idea. And I hope the Flyers don't go down that path. I hope that the reason why they took Jet Lushenko over Zeev Buium is because they think Zeev Buium is going to be a bust, and they think Jet Lushenko is going to be a 1C. I really, really hope that was the reason. But if part of it was not wanting to deal with Kurt Overhart, and it turns out Zeev Buium is an all-star defenseman and Jet Lushenko is a decent middle six center, and part of that reason why they passed on the all-star defenseman is because they don't like Kurt Overhart, that sucks.
We all silly like the mayor.